Welcome to JSA TV Europe, together with the Greener Native Movement, for this quarter's live event focused on European digital infrastructure sustainability. I'm Jean-Marc Lehmann. Joining me today is Ronald Philip, Senior Director for Strategic Planning at Agility Data Center Campuses. And Ronald, first, it's a pleasure speaking to you. Secondly, what you've announced last week is quite an amazing project and a very large-scale rollout through some of the most exciting markets in the world right now.
Thanks, Shah, for having me on. And yes, indeed, it's taken a lot of time to build up to that big announcement last week where we rolled out a portfolio of data center campuses across the Middle East and Africa. These are both the regions that Agility is intimately familiar with. I run around 8 countries in Africa, several countries in the Middle East and Asia. So it's taken a lot of groundwork to build towards this announcement and this portfolio.
It's very exciting. I can only imagine the amount of work they went into it.
Try acquiring land in some of these African countries. There's some.
No, I think I'll keep writing about it as opposed to. But Ronald, before we go into Agility and what you're doing on the ground, let's just paint a picture of the current state of the markets within Middle East and Africa, because Middle East, there's billions of dollars going into it. Africa, there's a lot of capital going into it, but developing slightly slower at a slower pace than the Middle East. But equally, it's two markets that are very underserved for this day and age. So the demand is just tremendous. And what's going to happen in the next 30, 40 years, even more so.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So over the last couple of years, we've seen an explosion in demand and planned investment in data centers in the Middle East and Africa. Now, listen, Africa is obviously a continent with 54 countries, and likewise the Middle East. There are multiple countries here. But like you said, Zhao, it's massively underserved in terms of data center capacity. In Africa, it's only been South Africa really that's had significant data center investment. The rest of the continent is massively underserved. South Africa is the third biggest economy in Africa. Egypt, which is the second biggest economy, has 1/10 of the data center capacity that South Africa has. So what we are seeing is, everyone was investing in South Africa. Now what we're seeing is investment in other tier 1 markets across Africa, Nairobi, Lagos, and then Casablanca and Cairo. It's not easy. In some of these markets, it's going to be challenging, and we'll come to that later. And similarly, in the Middle East, we've seen some significant investment in the UAE, but now people are looking to invest massively in Saudi Arabia, in Qatar, in Bahrain, in Kuwait, and the other economies. And Saudi Arabia, it's a large economy and very wealthy.
I think what's happening
again, massively underserved, Zhao, right? Yeah. So it's a really exciting time in the Middle East and Africa from the data center space, but it's not without its challenges and not without its risks. And that is why we believe we have a value proposition to help with what we're rolling out in terms of data center campuses.
It's interesting as well, because a lot of what's happening in the Middle East, especially in the Middle East, but in some parts of Africa, is that countries are building entire new cities for millions of people. So not only what they already have, it's not that there's no data center supply to those cities. They are building entire new cities that need everything to be built from ground up. I think it's the new Cairo capital, which is a $54 billion project. I think they need about $2 billion just on telecommunication towers alone. Not even data centers. So data centers will be another few billions to go into it. You look at Saudi Arabia, there's new cities being built everywhere, especially with Neon and the Line and all that. So it's a very interesting market, which is going to be there for several decades to come in terms of data center investment and supply. But speaking of Agility, so Agility is starting its own journey now to serve those markets. So talk us through the rollout that you have planned for these two regions.
Sure. So, just in terms of context, Agility is a $7 billion conglomerate. It's the leading developer of industrial and logistics real estate across the Middle East and Africa. So we essentially buy or lease large chunks of land, and we build warehouses and we lease them out to e-commerce companies, to logistics companies, to manufacturing companies. We do the same thing that a company like Prologis does in the US, Segro or Panattoni does in the UK, and Global Logistics Properties does in Asia. Now, what's happened, Zhao, over the last year is that many data center operators came to us and said, hey, Agility, we'd love to buy land from you. And we said, what for what? And they said for data centers. because you have great land with power, connectivity, and you're right next to the cable landing station. So this was news to us. So we then looked at our strategy of how we want to enter or how we want to engage with the data center space. And last year, we sold one of our businesses, which was a logistics company, to DSV of Denmark for $4.5 billion. So we said we want to deploy this capital in an attractive sector. And we looked at data centers. And we had two choices, really. One is to build a brand new data center operating team, similar to what some of our other peers like GLP, for example, have done. Or we said, how can we do this as a real estate play? We looked at Segro in the UK, which you're very familiar with. And we looked at Slough Estate, where they have 30 data centers where they've built powered shells for them. So we said, can we be a real estate partner for data centers across the Middle East and Africa? And that is our strategy. So we have logistics parks across the Middle East and Africa, 5 countries in Africa and 4 countries in the Middle East, and we'll expand to 10 countries in Africa. So what we've done, Zhao, is we've worked with data center consultants as well as Knight Frank's global data center team to identify which of our sites would be ideal for data centers. And so what we've done is in 4 of our parks, Kuwait, Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, Cairo in Egypt, and Tema in Ghana, we have master planned specific sites where we can host data centers and where we have huge amounts of power available today, as well as fiber connectivity and land, which essentially will save a data center operator anywhere from 18 to 24 months in just land acquisition, getting power, and a massive amount of headache in any of these markets, trying to do any of that. So that's our start. We're data center campuses. We as Agility are not building the data centers. We're looking to partner with data center operators in providing them a powered shell or possibly even entering into a joint venture with them. But we want to help them go to market faster in these very challenging and risky markets.
And then just out of curiosity, because I'm not going to ask for names because I know you can't give any names, but are you getting more interest from international players, as in maybe American operators or European operators? Or are you getting more local investors and local guys wanting to get into these shells?
So it's interesting. It's a combination of, in terms of interest, it's a combination. It's a bunch of international and regional players. So in the Middle East, we have international operators. We have cloud customers directly approaching us. And we have a bunch of regional players from the UAE and Saudi who've decided to become data center giants and step outside their markets. And similarly in Africa, Zhao, we have we're speaking to both international operators as well as African data center operators. Now, our experience in terms of the business model, the powered shell, or entering into a joint venture, what we've seen so far is that the international operators who have got powered shells already, in Segro, in Slough Estate or other markets, it's an easier conversation with them. So we'll have to educate the market, I'd say, about powered shells when it comes to some of the regional players. But essentially, I mean, in all cases, it saves them 18 to 24 months in schedule.
Which for this day and age, it's a massive thing, especially with the supply chain shortages. Getting the product delivered so quickly, it's going to make a huge difference, not just to the business, but to the people that are going to use them and the businesses that are going to come out of it, the new startups and innovation that this allows into these new countries. I was going to ask as well to bring the sustainability element into it. So how are you building sustainability into these new facilities and you're literally from the ground up?
Yeah. So sustainability is a very important part of Agility's global strategy. And, for several years, we have done several things on multiple fronts in sustainability. We are part of the World Economic Forum's First Movers Coalition. So we're committed to procuring, adopting sustainable technologies across our multiple businesses. We are the first logistics real estate developer to have green buildings, green warehouses, net zero warehouses in the Middle East and North Africa. We're an investor in clean fuel trucks manufacturers called Helion and a solar PV technology company called TVP Solar out of Switzerland. So we do a lot of things at the group and within our businesses. When it comes to the data center campuses, Zhao, what we are looking at is sustainability across the spectrum in terms of the energy that the data center consumes. It's become very important. So we've spoken to a number of operators as well as the end customers, and they have very strong commitments to net zero, all of them. And so a big part of the conversation is, how can you get me clean energy, renewable energy? So what we're doing across our campuses is from day one, we have renewable power available, because remember that each of these data center campuses are located within very large warehouse parks. There's a picture of one behind me, which is in Maputo, in Mozambique. So we have a huge amount of rooftop space where we will have solar. We've already done this in Dubai, and on one warehouse roof, we have 60 megawatts. So, the Middle East, where abundant solar power, and that's something we will bring to play. In Africa, in several of our sites, particularly in Ghana, there's a significant amount of hydroelectric power from the dams in country, both in Ghana and in Egypt, which we can leverage. So even right now on the power side, we're in talks with solutions providers on an entire spectrum of solutions, including solar to hydrogen, etc., which we will have on our campuses. So that's on the energy side. Similarly, on the water front, we are looking at water reuse, water harvesting, wastewater treatment facilities on all of our campuses. So essentially, we will be able to provide those solutions to data centers on our campuses.
Very interesting. And I think another interesting aspect of your projects is actually the human capital and what you're doing on the ground to help people, as opposed to just being business driven. So talk us through your ESG programs that you're running specifically in Africa.
Sure. So we are an emerging market specialist, Zhao, and we've operated across a spectrum of emerging markets from Africa to the Middle East to Asia and beyond. Agility has invested in training over 500,000, that's 500,000 young people in these markets on skills training. In Ghana, for example, where we're going to have one of our data center campuses, we have run training programs for the last 7 years in partnership with local NGOs. Two themes. One is we have done a program called Girls Who Code. So we teach girls coding in this Ghana facility. And we also invest in another program for vocational training, where we train Ghanaian men and women from our neighborhood in skills, in bricklaying, in being secretaries, in being in admin staff, etc. So we already do this, and I was present at one of the graduation ceremonies for one of these programs with young girls from the area, and it was just wonderful because we're creating opportunity for them. So what we're looking to do is similarly find partners in the data center training space so that we can train data center technicians in market and locally. Because, Zhao, you'll understand that it's an underserved market, but from a skills perspective also, it's massively undersupplied because nobody has these skills in market. So we are very keen to, as part of our data center campus rollout, also be partners and invest in training local talent to supply not just the data centers on our campus, but the entire industry.
Very interesting. I was taking notes because right off the top of my bat, I think we can help you get in touch with a few people. There's 3 people straight away that come into my mind for this.
Excellent. We're looking right now for partners on that front.
Okay, we'll help you that out. And then but just to quickly kind of come into a closing circle. So you've announced this rollout. What is the dream for the long term? Because now we know the initial side of agility that is in the campuses, but what's next? What do we not know yet?
Sure.
You can tell us.
So we plan to have a network across the Middle East and Africa. So we are we've rolled out 2 sites right now, Cairo and Ghana. We have plans for a few more, most probably Cote d'Ivoire in our existing park, Morocco, Nairobi. Same in the Middle East. We've rolled out Kuwait and Saudi Arabia. We already have requests for a couple of other markets that we're present in. So we are planning to expand to multiple countries across Africa. What's already happened, Zhao, with our announcement is that a couple of country governments that have been inviting us to come in and invest in logistics parks, they've made the same offer for data center campuses. So they've said, listen, can you do the same thing? Because if you can make it easier for global data center operators to come into our country, we'd love to have you as the data center operator, data center campus in our capital city. So the plan very much is hopefully that these go well, that we build deep trust with the global data center operators and the cloud, and then we become their partner of choice for a de-risked and a rapid rollout across multiple countries in the Middle East and Africa, beyond the 4 that that's our initial rollout.
Very interesting. I feel like this is going to be a very fast journey over the next 2 years in terms of expansion.
Well, listen, I've been running around Africa for a very long time. I was born in a copper mining township in Zambia. I don't know about fast, but we are patient and long term. So land acquisition it takes time in Africa. We want to move fast so that we can help the operators move quickly. But Africa moves at its own pace. And I say that with all the love and respect as someone who grew up in Africa.
It's always good to also take culture into account. So that's part
you absolutely have to. You absolutely have to. And that is, I think, what we've learned well by being in these markets for a very long time. We know how to, engage with local communities, be a trusted partner to governments, and we've won that respect, which helps us. Big time across these markets.
Absolutely. I was just going to ask, so if people want to learn more about agility or get in touch to maybe discuss new campuses, what's the best way for them to do so?
Sure. So they can go on our website and get in touch. There's a contact form, or they can get in touch directly with me, either on LinkedIn or my email ID is rophilip@agility.com. That's rophilip@agility.com. Where we'd love to hear from anyone interested in partnering with us, or if we can help them with their rollout across countries, even where we're not present right now, we'd like to help provide a solution.
Okay. Well, Ronald, thank you so much for joining. I can't wait to see the story further develop in the existing and new markets that are up and coming. I'll be here watching to put pins on the map with precision.
Jean, we have to have you come and visit us in Ghana. And we need to show you around.
I'll do an agility tour through all the nice touristic places where you have a data center.
Yes, absolutely.
Jokes aside, well, thank you so much, Ronald. And as to our viewers, thank you for tuning into JSA TV Live. Don't forget to check our social channels for more content. Until next time, happy networking.
Thank you.